Hey guys, I'm Mark,
I'm Alon.
and welcome to another episode of The Next Man Up. Well, hey listeners, welcome once again to another episode of the Next Man Up podcast. My name is Mark, and I'm joined again by my cohort, my colleague, my partner in crime, Alon Auguste. Alon, welcome in. Good to be with you once again, my friend.
Oh, likewise, man. Good to be back. Sorry it's over the phone, but I am here.
You know, we get it done, right? We find a way.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So how you feeling, man?
I'm feeling better, definitely better. This has been a long road to fully recovered, but definitely better. Hopefully the voice is a little bit stronger today. And, you know, it's just, unfortunately, it's going around the family now. We weren't able to quarantine me well enough to keep the wife and the daughter from getting it. So it's still making its way. You know, like we teach each other to share and be kind and generous, but boy, it sure would be nice if that stops with illness, right?
That would be awesome, man.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, but we're all on the mend. Just for whatever reason, this bug that we've got going around it just takes a while to work through the system. So
yeah.
But
you know what? You're getting better. That's what counts.
That's
so
right.
I'm glad to hear that.
That's right. So I'm definitely grateful for that.
Yeah.
So
what's on the docket today, man?
Well, yeah. So before we get into that, just another reminder that we still have our podcast survey up. We're going to run this through the rest of the month or the rest of the year, rest of this decade, however you want to look at it. And if you haven't taken a chance to or take an opportunity, just 2 minutes to give us your feedback, help us make this show better for you and everybody else that's listening, we would certainly appreciate that. Consider it your Christmas gift to us. You can find this survey 3 different ways. In the description or show notes here, we've got a link on our Facebook page at The Next Man Up 1 or on our podcast page at our website, thenextmanup.com/podcast. If you could give us 2 minutes to help make this show better, we would definitely appreciate it. If you haven't taken the opportunity to do that, please do so. And like I said, we would appreciate it, and we will go from there. Okay.
Good. Cool.
So you know that I am constantly scanning different articles, different pieces of news, and I got lots of different outlets that come across my attention. And occasionally I'll find articles or different studies that are interesting, and I thought we could look at 2 different ones today. So, picture the guest host or the game show host with the phrase "studies show." Well, today we're gonna look at what a couple different studies show, and while they're different studies, they interestingly point to very similar conclusions. At least that's my interpretation of them. And So I know you've had a chance to take a look at them. Let's start with the one that is labeled the British Cohort Study. Alon, this has been going since 1946, over 70 years, and over 70,000 kids. And really what they've been asking. What they've been asking is, what is it that leads to happiness and success when raising kids? And interestingly enough, the conclusion is it's pretty simple, and at least from my vantage point, it's pretty intuitive as well. The conclusion, the key statement in the article that presents this study is this: successful parenting simply requires being engaged with your kids, getting them to bed on time, and reading books. How did you react to that?
There's a part of me that was like, we've actually like answered the crazy question of how to raise
How do we do it?
How to raise children successfully. I mean, just like, look, come on, man. There's no like, manual that is given to you when you leave with your kid from the hospital.
Right.
Like, the doctor is not like, here's like 15 books and here's like 20 different people who have gone before you and raised kids, and here's like, you know what I mean?
No, they're concerned that they're concerned that you've got the car safety seat installed properly, and and as long as you got that, you're good.
Can you transport this child from the hospital to your home?
Right, right.
And so I understand, but like there isn't a manual for this stuff, and so like there is that question: how do I do this right? How do I raise kids right?
Yeah.
And my first thought is, wow, someone has boldly stood up and given like this answer from this crazy like study that's been happening for decades and with 70,000 people. Awesome.
Yeah.
But then my other reaction is, well, I could tell you that.
Right.
Because because on one hand, I like to tell people like there is no manual. This is hard, and this requires a lot. But then on the other hand, I also like to tell people like that raising kids it shouldn't be rocket science. I mean, if you do some simple things, you should be okay. But that's the tension, isn't it? And we have to hold both those things and walk left foot, right foot.
Yeah.
That it's at times it's grueling and it's hard, and there really isn't a clear cut black and white answer to raising your children and how to do successfully. And then at the other times, there are things that should just be standard, and the things like, look, I need to pay attention to you. You're my child. Like I want to raise you right, and so there are things that I'm just going to do because I want to be involved in their lives, and so we hold that with attention. At least that's where I went first.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on. We've said about 1 million times on this show that there's no manual. And the other thing that we keep saying over and over, and it still bears repeating again, is that you need to be engaged. If we could summarize in one word the key ingredient to being successful as a parent and raising successful kids, and we could go down a whole different path on how to define success, but in most broadly defined terms, being a successful parent and raising successful kids requires you to be engaged. It is not something that you can just phone in. It's not something that you can outsource. And here we've got this study that says the key conclusion is for parents to be engaged with their kids. So, part of me is like, well, no kidding, because this is how it was designed. This was why it works this way is because we were created, we were made to work this way. And I know that there are different shapes and sizes of families, but I have often said parenting is a 2-person job. It really, really is. Now, I know that some, because of circumstances or because of choices or whatever, they have to go it alone. But we weren't designed to parent just by ourselves. We were designed to parent together, and we were designed to parent in an active and an engaged way. And if and when you do that, chances are that it will be a much more successful experience for you as a parent as well as for your kids.
Yeah. And I want to be fair, too. So this article is saying actually, let me just read you what it says. Talking and listening to a child, responding to them warmly, teaching them their letters and numbers, and taking them on trips and visits are all beneficial. but the research shows that the best way to engage with your child is by reading to or with them. Unsurprisingly, children who read more before the age of 10 went on to perform better in school. And so there was this bend towards like academics or whatever, but it's still like engagement.
Yes.
And so I guess the question that at least I walk away with from reading the article is like, how am I doing with engaging with my children and them engaging with me, and what can I do? If I'm not doing well, what can I do to like increase that engagement? Because apparently, after 70,000 like kids, in a research that's been going on for 7 years, we see that engagement is important.
Yeah.
And so I want to pay attention to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And such.
So that's a great segue. So let's bring in the second study that we want to tackle today. So this one is based on a survey of 2,500 parents from the UK. And it really looks at what goes on during dinner time or more broadly during mealtime. And, you were asking the question, what should I be paying attention to? How can I further engage? I think this study is an example of where modern parenting is dropping the ball. And, we could speculate on all the different reasons why. But what this study says is that a third of families sit in complete silence during mealtime. Now, when I read that, I'm like, are you kidding me? Really? A third of families, 3 out of 9 families, 3.33 out of 10 families sit in silence during mealtime. I had a hard time wrapping my head around that.
Yeah. And from first glance, it's like, oh, really? Like, but I mean, is it really surprising? Like, okay, so you have another human being in your house who is removed from you by, I don't know, 30 years, 20, 30 years. This is however old you are, minus whatever that. So, I mean, some people are 20 years, some people are 30, some people are, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So there's a significant gap. So there's a generational gap. There's also a sense of, I know I'm supposed to talk to you, and you're supposed to talk to me, but I have no clue how to talk to you. I don't have any idea how to talk. And I'm just telling you what I know have been struggles for me, and have been struggles like for my wife and other parents that I've talked with. Like, there's this bridge of communication that's broken down. Whether it's generational, whether it's just not able to communicate well with each other because we don't know what to talk about. Span the gambit, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, and then you sit down at this meal and people are just shoving their food in their mouth. It could be this long, awkward, I'm going to check Instagram, I'm going to check Snapchat. Oh, I wonder what's on NPR today. Like kind of moment. And so at first I'm like surprised, but then I'm like, no, actually I can see that. And also this article is talking about the people, like, families that actually sit down for a meal.
Yeah.
That's almost, actually, you know what? I don't want to say, just based off of like families that I've spoken with, it seems like that doesn't. Well, sitting down and eating is not normal.
Well, yeah. So according to this study, 4 in 10 parents don't even eat dinner at the same time as their children on most days. So you're right. It presumes that there's an opportunity when in fact 4 out of 10 times there isn't even an opportunity.
And so, like, is it surprising? Like, it's maybe not.
Yeah.
And so the question, because and it leads back to the last article, which is like, this is what is successful at raising children. But some of us, we feel it as families, as parents, we're going, I don't even know how to engage. Like, I don't even, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's not surprising based off even the last article that we read.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, I'm not giving excuses. I just know from why don't I sit down with my family sometimes in need? Well, time. When you are working 60, 70 hours a week, and you come home for dinner, I mean, your brain might still be on your boss or your work or your job, or, you know, there's so many reasons. And I'm not giving excuses. I just know the hurdles that I've had to like jump over or crawl under in some cases, or run around, like to get to a place where I'm engaging my kids at something simple as even just sitting down at dinner. Let's not even just talk, but let's just at least sit down and see each other, and whatnot. And so there's lots of reasons, and I guess if you listen, you just hear that. There's lots of reasons why we don't engage, and there's lots of reasons why in doing one easy way to engage is sitting down and eating a meal, why it's awkward, because of all these barriers that might be there.
Yeah.
Now, I do say all that to like lead to, but we can still do it though.
Yes, that's
we
right.
We can still do it.
That's right.
You know, I like, you know, for us, like, there's been times where we've lost track of it. Like, one of the easiest ways to connect is at a table and throw out a question. Was it an open question?
Yeah, an open. That's right. Something that begins with what or how, that they can't answer with just a one word, right? Like yes or no, or good or fine.
No. Like, you know, it's like, no, I really want to know about your day.
Yeah.
So who did you hang with today? What was 3 things that you liked doing with this person? What was your worst subject today? Why? What is your worst subject today? Why? What was your greatest subject today? Why? Like, I mean, there's got to be this. This is the spot for it. Is dinner time.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ways to make it fun so that you can engage. But there's been times where we've lost track of that, Mark. I got to be really honest with you. As a parent, I'm going, man, I don't do this well. Like,
yeah.
But the times that we brought it back, it's been like, okay, well, we're just going to start with 1 day a week. 1 day a week, we're going to cut all the busyness, and we're going to sit down, and we're going to have dinner for 30 minutes, and we're going to put our cell phones down. We're going to turn off the TV, no electronics, and we're just going to hang. That's it. 1 day is better than no day.
That's right. But it took, it took intention and purpose, right? Like it was a purposeful decision to make that happen. And you know, I've been guilty of some of this too. Like the listeners that have been with us for a while know a little bit about my story. I had a major career shift 3.5 years ago. And part of it was because I was just not at home. And even when I was at home, I did not have the energy to be engaged in the way that I wanted to be or that my kids needed me to be. And so, you know, I made a big shift, a big change. And part of it, not exclusively, but part of it was because I wanted to be different. I wanted to show up different as dad. And, you know, it wasn't just mealtime. It was like being engaged at home with energy and with purpose and intention, not just leftovers and little bits and scraps here and there. Because it was important to me, you know, and it required some try this one more time, reorienting of my life and activities. And I can say it's been well worth it, but it was been a significant change for sure.
Right, and it's benefited you, but it's also it's benefited your kids.
Right. That's right.
Your family as a whole has grown like from it, and that's what I love. I love moments like something where a simple engagement leads to an extraordinary outcome of like growth for our family. during Thanksgiving. I don't know if I shared this or not, but during Thanksgiving, the lights went out, and so yeah, I guess the part of sitting out, and then lights went out, and they were hurrying to get things on, but it was like 7 hours of no energy in our area, electric in our area, and so we have all these like family members there, TV's on, no football. But then there's food that should be like warmed. There's no chance for that. People are getting antsy. So we all have food, but people don't know how to engage each other, and so we're kind of just like sitting there. And so I got a bright idea. I was like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. Where everybody's gonna write their name down on a piece of paper, and then we're gonna put it in a bowl, and then we're all gonna pick one name out of the bowl. And once they did that, they were like, what we're doing with this. I was like, everybody, for the person that you have in your hand, you need to share something that you're thankful for about that person.
Nice.
And it was just something simple. I was just like, I honestly, I did it out of fear. It's just like, man, these people, it's like a bunch of wolves with no food for like 7 days. This could get bad. And ended up being a cry fest, man.
Wow.
It was an awesome time, but like something simple that we could do that around our tables. Like, what are you thankful for today? Or what's even like talking through like something hard. You could do it at the dinner table with tact. But the idea is that we stay engaged, and we get together engaged, and you don't know, out of it can come out this extraordinary like growth for your family that like propels you guys like forward. It could be beautiful.
Yeah. No, that's a great story. It's a great example of, I think one of the suggestions as part of this discussion of how to be more engaged, which is to eliminate distractions. Now, you guys had distractions eliminated for you on your behalf, but what would it look like to have a distraction-free moment with your kid or with your kids or with your family? How often do the phones get in the way? How often does a TV in the background get in the way? How often does whatever's rolling through your mind get in the way of fully engaging? So what would it look like to remove some of those distractions? A couple episodes ago, we were talking about technology, and last episode we're talking about how to roll into next year and lead your family better. Like, what would it do to create more of those moments where there are no distractions, or at least minimal distractions, so that you guys can be more fully engaged? I love the idea of asking questions. You're always good for the unexpected question, the crazy question, the unusual question. Something just to keep your kids guessing. Sometimes I think my kids would prefer that I go back to my tired and disengaged self, because my more engaged and creative self has a little more creativity, a little more orneriness to them, and I'm being a little bit facetious here, but what does it look like to keep your family on their toes? With unexpected thoughts or questions or stories or spontaneous type of activities that don't require necessarily money or technology or planning, just things like you did with your family, things that you can do together. Just a couple more thoughts that I had as we wind this down, but like, how can we be more engaged? I think a key is to be willing to listen well. And I won't get on my soapbox here, but listening can be extremely powerful. And if you can communicate to your family by being interested in them, that you're listening and you're engaging, it can be extremely powerful. So how's your listening? You know, how are you engaging with your ears, with your eyes, with your body language? How is your listening? And then finally, the other thought that I had, and this may seem a little bit unusual, but I think we hinted at this a few episodes back too. I tell you what, my kids have leaned in the most when I start to tell my own stories. Embarrassing moments, or moments when I was in their shoes and what I was thinking, or moments when their grandparents were doing some things as parents that that I was chafing against, or that I was frustrated with, or they were just being goofy and it was a side of them that the grandkids haven't seen yet. Whatever it is, I just, my experience, and I don't think it's just unique to me, my experience has been the kids really pay attention when I open up and I tell some of my own stories. So what would that look like for you, listeners, to share some of your own stories and help foster that engagement?
Good. That's good. I agree with that, especially that last one. That I find the more I can, let my kids into me just being another human being like them, the more they do lean in. Like, really? Like, wow. All right.
Yeah.
And I know that's hard as a dad. I know that I've wrestled with that one, because there is this sense from your kids that you're a superhero.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean? You can do nothing wrong. But the problem with that is that it's not that it's not true. Like, you're their dad, but you are human, and so there are embarrassing moments. There are like stories of failure, but that's not all that you need to tell them. You can tell them stories that you succeeded as well.
Oh yeah.
And you learned something, and that you triumphed.
Adventures. Spontaneous experiences, things that you enjoyed when you were their age.
Right? And so, in a sense, like, you don't want to become an idol to your kids, but at the same time, you do want to let them know that, man, just like I succeeded, you can succeed as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yep. And such, so there's a balancing act that needs to go there. But I agree with you, Mark. As much as we can share of ourselves, like the more that our kids will lean into what we have to say, I think.
Yep. Yeah. Well, listeners, studies show that successful parenting looks like engaging. And if mealtime is an option for you, then what a fantastic time to engage with your kids and continue to invest in them. And maybe some of our own experience and some of these ideas have helped to propel you toward this path. The big two-word question, I think I've referenced this before, but the big two-word question I've become very fond of is, so what? So what? Yeah. What are you going to do with whatever ideas or insight or learning or information that has been rolling around in your head as we come to the end of this episode? So what? Our challenge to you is to take whatever that is and turn it into action and go bless your kids with your engagement. And we wish you all the best in the process. And as always, we appreciate you guys listening in and following us and being part of the community and for journeying with us.
Yeah, much appreciated. Thank you.
All right, Alon. Well, let's wrap it here, and the usual farewell. Until next time, listeners. Adios.
Adios.
Hey, listeners, thanks for journeying with us on this Next Man Up podcast. We would love to hear from you. Maybe you have a question or an idea, perhaps a topic for us to consider. If that's you and you want to reach out to us, you can get us at feedback@thenextmanup.com. That's feedback@thenextmanup.com. Again, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, we'll see you later.